Hey Big Bean! Welcome back to another video on the Majestic Bean channel. Today I'm going to share with you 3 flow profiling recipes I love using on my E61 group head espresso machine. So grab a cup of coffee if you don't have one already and let's get into it. One of the many advantages of owning an E61 group head espresso machine is the ability to add a flow control device on it. An FC device allows you to control the amount of water coming out of the group head by screwing or unscrewing this little spinning thingy on top of the brew head that looks and acts like an old school water tap. The Lelit Mara X out of the box didn't come with one, so we bought the coffee sensor flow control separately and installed it, which was an interesting experience to say the least. So in case you want to watch that video, you should click the link above my head right here. Other machines, such as the Lelit Bianca for example, come with a pre-installed flow control device out of the box, so you don't really need to bother taking the tools out. Before we begin with the recipes, here are some numbers to better understand my machine and the recipes I'm using. What you're seeing here is the amount of water per second that's coming out of the group head with every quarter turn adjustment on the flow control device. I would highly recommend doing these measurements on your machine, so that way you can make calculated decisions with making little adjustments. And if you don't know how to do that, leave a comment down below and I can help you out with that. Let's start with the actual topic of this video. I mostly juggle between these 3 recipes with my flow control device. A blooming shot, Whole Latte loves sweet bump, and we have a low slow flow espresso shot as well. So what I'm gonna do now is make an espresso with each of the 3 flow recipes, taste it, and maybe talk a bit about each espresso shot. For today's video, I'm gonna use Proud Mary's Angel Wings Espresso Blend. This is an espresso blend consisting of South American and Central American coffees. It is a buttery, well-balanced espresso blend with hints of orange zest and orange juice acidity as well. So this is a very pleasant coffee overall, high quality, smells amazing. The coffees consisting this blend are all washed coffees, so it's gonna be pretty clean, pretty juicy, which is amazing. I'm gonna be using 16-gram doses for all 3 flow profiling shots. And the recipe is 16 grams in, 40 grams out. We're actually not gonna pay attention to extraction time this time, although obviously we don't want to grind too fine. But at the same time, because we're using slow pre-infusion methods with the flow profiler, we will need to grind finer than if we weren't using pre-infusion. With the first shot, the blooming shot, we are introducing water for a slow pre-infusion until we see the first drops of coffee coming out. On my flow profiler, I'll be using a quarter turn on it for the pre-infusion. Then what I'm gonna do is ramp up the flow on the machine until its stock setting, which is 2 full turns on the flow profiler. And we're just gonna wait until the desired yield, and that's about it. And also for reference, in case somebody at home has a Sete 270 grinder, the grind setting I'm using is 2D. A little spray of water. Here we go. And now we stop it, start the timer, 15 seconds. And we ramp up 2 full turns until 40 grams. there we have it. This is the blooming espresso shot. Now I know this might be confused with the decent espresso blooming shot they're using on the decent espresso machine, but it's not. So I just called it the blooming shot because we're kind of using a blooming phase just like we would if we were making a pour over coffee. But that's about it. I'm not taking credit for the people behind the decent espresso machine and their work. Anyway, I stirred my espresso and I'm gonna taste it and see how it tastes. What I'm tasting here is not a lot of body, obviously, because we're using a 1 to 2.5 ratio of coffee to water, basically, which kind of thins out the espresso, but it works very well for these particular beans because it's a washed coffee. So we're getting a lot of juiciness, a lot of clarity. It's very well balanced and obviously, as I said, low on the body. And overall, this shot tastes amazing. The acidity is pronounced and I'm not sure why because I'm not a coffee scientist, but that might have something to do with the little blooming phase that we're involving in the beginning of the shot. So if I had to rate this espresso, I would probably give it between 6 to 7 out of 10. Let's move on now to the second shot, which is actually from Whole Latte Love's YouTube channel, and they call it the Sweet Bump. And see how that shot compares to this one when using the Angel Wing espresso blend. Now for the Sweet Bump, what I saw on Whole Latte Love's YouTube channel is basically we start with a low flow. Midway through the shot, we bump up the flow to around stock espresso flow or just below that. And then we maintain that for around 5 seconds. And after that, we decrease the flow again to the original beginning flow. And that way, apparently, we're gonna get a lot more sweetness from the espresso, and apparently it works especially well for high elevation grown coffees. So we'll see. When I was trying this espresso flow profile, I found it actually works. It does bring out a lot of the sweetness from the coffee, but I'm just curious to see if it works with the Angel Wings espresso blend as well. So let's see. So what I'm gonna do now is start the shot at the flow valve open halfway in the middle of the shot. So as soon as I reach around 15 to 20 grams, I'm gonna bump up the flow 1 full turn, which means I'm gonna go half a turn more. And after 5 seconds, decrease back to half a turn. That way, we bring out a lot of the sweetness out of this coffee. So basically what we have with the first espresso shot, with the blooming shot, and with this one, we're using literally the same recipe. All we're changing is the flow rate or the amount of water that's coming out of the group head. And it's so crazy how big of a difference there is between the first shot, the blooming shot, and this shot. This one is probably has a bit more body to it. Sweetness is there, it's very present, that orange sweetness that you get from an orange juice, without a lot of the acidity you'd expect from this coffee for some reason. And overall, I kind of enjoyed this shot more than the previous shot for some reason, just because probably it works better for this coffee. I can see this shot working very well when mixed with milk, just because it's kind of more creamier, I guess, as well. And obviously the body in the espresso shot itself would probably work better when mixed with milk. So if I had to rate this espresso shot right here, I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10. So we are definitely experiencing some improvements here from the blooming shot previously. Let's move on now to the low, slow flow espresso shot and see how it compares to the previous two espresso shots. With this espresso flow profile, what I'm gonna do is start the shot with a very slow pre-infusion at a quarter turn on the flow control device. As soon as I see the first drops of coffee, I'll go up to 3/4 of a turn on the flow control device and finish the shot like that until the desired yield. So this is basically gonna be a very slow, very low flow espresso shot. And I'm just curious to see how it's gonna compare to the previous two shots and if it's gonna taste better, if it's gonna taste worse, you know, let's see and let's find out. Alrighty guys, here's the third espresso shot. That definitely tastes as I expected. The low and slow water flow kinda produces an espresso cup with a medium body, high on sweetness, but very low on acidity. So I'd say this flow profile is best to be used with coffees that have lower acidity and that are high on sweetness, probably some Brazilian coffees and stuff like that, but definitely not to be used with some high elevation grown African coffees. I can see this flow profile working very well if you'd mix it with milk for milky drinks. And if I had to rate it out of 10, I'd say this is probably like 6.5, 7 out of 10. I kind of like the second flow profile better than this one. But still, this one tastes alright, it's not too bad. It just probably, I wouldn't use it for a coffee that has pronounced acidity. And yeah, that's about it. There we have it, friends. Those were my favorite recipes to use when flow profiling on my Lelit Mara X. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried any of the recipes I shared. I'd also appreciate it a lot if you share your favorite recipe with the rest of us so I can see if there is something I'm missing out on. As always, I really hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something new. Leave a like if you did and press the subscribe button if you haven't already. Check out our Teespring store and join the classic gang if you want to be cool as fuck while at the same time supporting our work. Also, if you have some spare change, click on our PayPal link and put it in our tip jar. With that being said, I want to thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.